And I believe there's probably a pretty good lag, so beware. Anyways, good morning.
Good morning, everybody. Monday morning.
As people start to get logged on and say hello, and we get a lot of rewatches and replays. And so if you are rewatching, drop a comment, say hello to us, so we'd be sure to connect with you, or we'll reach out to you. But other than that, welcome, Langdon. I'm really, really excited. And so I'm going to do very little talking today because I want to hear from you. But yeah, please introduce yourself and let us know who you are and what you have going on and so forth. Thank you again for joining.
Thank you very much for the introduction, Mandy. My name is Langdon Brown. I'm the CEO of Southern Cross Hemp. I've been involved in the hemp industry for 7 years. I ran a altruistic medicinal cannabis company for 3 years, from 2013 to 2016. I was providing black market medicinal cannabis to sick and dying Australians. I started off supplying medicine to 6 people, including my wife, who had breast cancer. And through word of mouth, the 6 people turned into 2,000 people. And I traveled around the country, mainly visiting hospitals for children with intractable epilepsy, and supplying them with non-psychoactive medicine, CBD medicine, to help the children's conditions. And that led me into legal conflict, where I had couple of major court cases facing 35 years minimum jail, and I provided the legal defense for these court cases, and they were both dismissed. The last one 18 months ago, and I've continued in this industry, not with medicinal cannabis because there's too many financial hurdles to enter the industry, and I've become interested in the hemp industry with lower barriers, and I've done a lot of cold calling over the last 6 months, and I've attracted capital partners to introduce what we've secured funding for Australia, $50 million of funding for Australia's first hemp fibre processing facility, which will take 18 to 24 months to set up. And that will keep us very busy. And our aim is to replace up to 60% of Australia's single-use plastics with biodegradable hemp.
Impressive. This is what I want to hear. This is great. Oh, Ryan's coming back on. I want to drop a note also to say. Oh, I see how you are. I want to drop a note to everybody, or say hello real quick to everybody that's on. Thank you very much for joining us. If you guys have any questions, don't hesitate to drop questions in the comments, and Langdon and I can see them, and Ryan can see them, and we'll address them as they come up. So feel free to ask anything or any kind of questions you have. So Langdon, you said you reached out and did a lot of cold calling to develop your network in Australia. Tell me a little bit about what that looked like and what the response was that you got.
The response, I found it easy to do because I'm so passionate about hemp, and I set up a financial banking brokerage, a financial planning company in Tokyo, and ran that for 10 years. So doing business development in Australia, I found a piece of cake compared to doing it in Tokyo, and I really enjoyed the process. Australia needs more than one facility, because one average macadamia farm could keep this facility busy 11 and a half months of the year. So we need many facilities. I'm looking at 20 facilities, 20 $50 million facilities in Australia. This is not a pie in the sky project. This has been done in Canada last year. We partnered with a Canadian company called Canadian Industrial Hemp Corporation. They've run the facility. It paid for itself in just over a year.
Say that again, because I don't think people grasp that, right? Go ahead.
This $50 million facility paid for itself in just over a year. In Canada last year, they took 400,000 tons of hemp waste because it was grown for seed and turned it into $400 million.
Wow.
So not only did they pay for their facility, but they got the money in the bank to pay for 4 more. So it's been done in Canada. They appointed a UK representative, and that UK representative, because of my LinkedIn work that I post often, and I have 28,000 followers, they appointed me as the Australian representative to get this project up and running. So it's funded, it's in the newspapers, it's happening, we are moving forward.
Okay, so I'm curious, real quick, what drives your passion? You know, when we talk about like being passionate, I'm the same way. I catch myself crying. I was making fun of myself the other day because I feel like the Lorax, Dr. Seuss's The Lorax about trees. You know, I get so passionate about what we're doing and the effects that what we can do with hemp compared to the destruction of our forests. But what really drives your passion? You say you're passionate about it and it was easy to make calls, but why are you so passionate?
When my history is as a senior financial planner at Australia's largest bank, I worked in the head office there and also in Tokyo for more than 10 years. So numbers really interest me. I'm 50 years of age. If I'm lucky, I've got 50 more years left. So what am I going to do during this next 50 years? Nothing I make economically, I'm taking with me. I'm here to create an impact. I'm here to help my country. I lived in Japan for 17 years. I missed Australia a lot. And I've come back here to help my country as much as I possibly can. And I believe in science. I believe that hemp has the ability to quickly improve the economic situation for our struggling farmers, and in the same time help us quickly improve this carbon sequestration problem that we're all facing.
So what does it look like in Australia right now as far as the industry is concerned? Is industrial hemp gaining a lot of traction? Are you on the beginning stages of it? What does it look like right now?
It's very much a fledgling industry. We have only 5,500 acres of hemp being grown nationally in Australia now. Which is just over 2,000 hectares. It's very small, and there's a lot of, it's mainly made up of hobby farmers. And the idea is they're involved in the industry because they're very passionate about the plant, but a lot of the farmers are literally living in their cars or in caravans on the property. They're not making much money from the hemp, but they're so passionate about the plant. And my plan is to support these struggling farmers. And if they are paid well, then through word of mouth, I believe this industry will expand quite quickly. We did a trial project this year of CBD, where we grew half an acre of CBD or hemp for CBD oil and produced $80,000 of oil for the farmers.
Lots of profit. If it's done right and if it's put together correctly with your supply chains and your knowledge of on the farm and cultivation side, it definitely is a profitable business. There can be a profitable business, right? There's definitely a lot more risk. Ryan, you have another question you wanted to ask?
Yeah. Following up on that, though, what does it look like on the political spectrum? What does the government feel about it? Is the government wanting to expand in cannabis? Are there limitations? Are there restrictions like we have in the U.S.? What does the political landscape look like?
So I'm in New South Wales. Sydney's in New South Wales, and we're the only state in Australia under hemp licenses that is allowed to extract CBD. We're actually not even allowed to call it CBD. We have to call it hemp oil because CBD infers therapeutic benefits, which of course it does. So we have to work within some regulations where the oil can not be given to people. It has to be used for, we've got permission for cosmetics and pet foods only under this license. But my company's done its first acquisition already with my capital partners, where we've acquired a company with a full medicinal cannabis license for manufacturing, growing and exporting. But to answer your question, Ryan, regarding political, it's only the state we're allowed to extract from the hemp flower. In other states, only hemp seed and fiber processing is allowed. So it's very much controlled, restrictive, but we can work within these rules to create a profitable industry.
You said something on the phone earlier. Go ahead, Ryan.
On a consumer side, on a consumer side, are you starting to see a lot of demand for consumables? Obviously, with topicals, with the cosmetics and pets, but even consumable stuff from consumers, are you starting to see a large demand on that? Is that what's driving you and your endeavors, or are you looking primarily towards the industrial side?
Yeah, good questions. There's huge demand. Our products are not even advertised on our website, our anti-aging salves. We can't keep up with the demand. It's all through word of mouth, where we have about over 2 tons of hemp to extract, and the 3 little machines that I have do 28 grams at a time. So it's like emptying a swimming pool with 3 thimbles. So I'm in Sydney to try and to organise the equipment that we need to produce the products to keep up with demand, so we can actually start to advertise and build. We're already doing close to $10,000 a month of sales through word of mouth. So wow. We have, as I mentioned, we have a doctor on our board. People are using our anti-aging salves and for conditions, all kinds of skin conditions, and within 14 days, doctors are telling our customers that there are noticeable improvements in their conditions using these CBD salves.
Okay, so on the fiber side, I have a couple of questions, and I want to kind of address the fiber side. When we talk about our passion, what I have really learned the more that I've gotten into this industry is the true benefits outside of the health and wellness that come from the cannabis plant, right? One thing that I was asked about a year ago is, how do we bridge this gap between those that believe in it and see the health and wellness benefit and those that do not, right? And we talk a lot about the ability to grow in a short period of time, the amount of water used or saved when you're planting hemp versus cotton or fiber or alfalfa. Can you go over some of those benefits, very briefly? I've spoken about them over the last few months on the show, but when you and I talked this morning, we hit on a lot of different benefits, to the plant.
Yeah, definitely. Look, cotton, as you mentioned, Mandy, uses a third of the world's pesticides. So my company is going to be producing organic fertilizers, organic pesticides, and hemp also uses much less water than cotton, and so we're really about promoting and educating the farmers, and they're very interested in hemp. Where we plan to have the first facility is near Byron Bay in Australia, which is a major tourist hub between the Gold Coast and Byron, where all the tourists are. So we'll have lots of farmhand on demand. You raised an important point that CBD is very important, but to achieve our goals of carbon sequestration, the real value of hemp is far beyond CBD, where with this fiber processing facility, we'll be able to create up to 36,000 new industries, which has the potential for hundreds of thousands of different jobs. Hemp fibers can very easily replace petroleum polymers. 20% of Australia's oil imports go into plastics. So we have done research. Our partners in Thailand have contacted over the last 3 years. They're ahead of Australia. Their farmers have committed 1 million acres to the kingdom to grow industrial hemp. And as you know, hemp is the nature's most potent carbon sequester. So the Kingdom of Thailand is ahead of Australia. However, they don't have hemp fiber processing facilities, which is what we're in negotiations for. One fiber facility can handle 5,500 acres only. So in Thailand's case, they would need about 500 of these facilities.
Okay.
Wow. And why is that? Why can they only handle that much? Can you explain that? Yeah,
the facility can handle 55,000 tons of hemp fiber, which would keep the facility busy 11 and a half months of the year. So it is a massive facility, but with the amount of hemp that they plan to grow, they're going to need about 500 of them. So I'm looking at having at least 20 facilities in Australia as quickly as possible.
And it costs how much per facility? How much per facility? Is that the 50 million you were saying earlier per facility to build?
50 million per facility. So the government's and in Australia too, we'll start off with one facility and we'll prove the economic viability of the facility and then expand from there. Each facility will take 18 to 24 months to have operational.
When you talk about location of the facilities, right? We talk a lot about as the hemp is moved more into the commodities category, right? And the margins become slimmer and slimmer. Adding transportation onto that hemp becomes a cost that makes it no longer competitive, right? How close and how do you pick regions or areas? Is it based on the number of acres that are being grown regionally? for facilities, or what are your thoughts?
The placing of the first facility is not based upon asking the farmers if they're interested. It's based upon my decision of where I would like to live. I believe because the hemp fiber was able to pay in Canada farmers $1,912 an acre profit, it's 5 times the amount they would get from cotton. So even the farmers that I've spoken to so far are extremely interested. There's through a major law firm in Brisbane, which looks after large macadamia farmers, they contacted 6 farmers. All of those farmers would be able to keep the facility busy 24/7, 11.5 months of the year. So the idea is I've been, as I mentioned, in the industry for 7 years. I have a network, and I want to place the facility in an area where my team wants to work. And Byron Bay is a beautiful place in Australia, and it would have access to all the backpackers, and I think it would be a very attractive proposition for backpackers to be able to work on a hemp farm rather than, for example, picking strawberries.
Yeah.
And at our hemp fiber facility, we are going to make the buildings out of hemp. We are going to make the roads out of hemp. We're going to have a hemp restaurant. We're going to have hemp stores, and people will be able to do a day tour of the hemp fields and then see the hemp being made into clothing and buy some clothing and have a meal at a delicious hemp restaurant. It's going to be a hemp center complete.
I love that idea. That's very cool.
At your manufacturing,
just to be able to see all the different things that you can create with hemp and be able to see that on hand. I mean, I would think that you would have a lot of people coming there internationally for tours just to see what can be done and then learn, okay, how do we do this in our area? How do we do this on a much larger scale? That's pretty amazing. I love what you guys have planned out there.
Thank you. I think it could be a major tourist attraction, and the location is based upon that, where a lot of tourists international tourists move between the Gold Coast and Byron Bay. It's a fantastic location, and I think anyone in Australia, if you mention that name, Byron Bay, has great reputation for alternative lifestyles and for supporting this hemp industry. And so far I've had a lot of support from the local member of parliament who's taken this project to Canberra regarding possible funding. It did not get funding, but I believe that if people lead, the leaders will follow.
When we talk about jobs and creating jobs and economic growth, can we talk a little bit more, or educate me a little bit more about what that looks like and what the true benefit is? We kind of touched on the value of, say, our rural communities being able to grow the hemp, we process it, and then they can live in the buildings or the homes or whatever it is, drive on the streets that are then made out of their product ultimately, right? And it keeps this circle. Can you, just share some education and a little bit more information about the value and benefit on the economic side to transferring to hemp or switching over?
Definitely. The facility itself will directly employ 77 full-time workers. The area up near Byron Bay is a very high unemployment area. There's no industry up there. I think it's a perfect place to have a hemp center. So the facility is 77 full-time workers. Then the amount of workers we're going to need in that 100 acres or or 50 hectares is going to be substantial, especially towards harvesting time. So we really believe there's not only 77 full-time jobs per facilities, but we aim to create about 36,000 new industries, which will create hundreds of thousands of jobs for Australia, which we really need right now.
Okay, when you say new industries, what does that mean? Like what?
So the hemp fiber processing facility is in its infancy now. So everything made out of cotton and plastic and petroleum can be made out of hemp. They're all our targets. Once we have the supply chain and we're up and running, I'm going to be grabbing my briefcase and hitting the pavement, and I'm going to be aiming directly at the large plastic manufacturers and proving to them that hemp fibers are 1/10 the cost of petroleum polymers. So it is a very attractive proposition for large companies like Coca-Cola, etc. In Australia, we produce 660,000 tons of plastic a year.
Wow.
And hemp plastic is biodegradable and ocean biodegradable. So imagine currently all of that plastic produced is where, and the part that's so frustrating to me is we've had this whole time and have created this mound of pollution and problem that now we're looking to reverse, right? And hemp really does reverse that pollution problem when it comes to the plastic bottles and the use of plastics in general.
Correct. And the real disturbing part is that even with the high emphasis on recycling and everyone making an effort for recycling, only about 5% of plastics are effectively recycled. And we have 130,000 tons of plastic ending up in our oceans and rivers in Australia, where I'm ashamedly saying that we're the largest carbon producer per capita in the world, including our exports. So we really, I believe, need to improve this. And finally, technology has caught up with the hemp industry, where we have this opportunity to show companies and farmers that it can be economically attractive to use biodegradable hemp instead of polluting our waters and riverways. As you know, plastic's only been around 70 years and takes 700 years to decompose. It's a massive problem, and scientists have now seen that plastic is leaching into our foods, which they did not think was possible. So the timing regarding such a project is perfect.
Yeah. Well, we kind of talked about that previously also, right? That what did COVID or what did this pandemic really do for our country and our globe? And really it made all of us, or me specifically, take a deep look at our supply chains and what we're doing as a community and a country and globally, and how do we take care of ourselves and how do we individually take care of ourselves. And I'll tell you what, it opened so many doors for opportunity and even the willingness to listen or learn about opportunity around hemp. It just, yeah, it's been crazy.
Yeah.
You raise a really important point, Mandy, which is control of our supply chains. I ordered some items from my company on Wish. It comes from China in mid-March, and it arrived at the end of July. Cheap is nothing if you can't get it in a timely manner. So it took 5 months.
It becomes more expensive for you.
Oh, yeah.
And very, very frustrating. And this is, I believe, a warning shot across the bow. All our police uniforms are made in China. All our football uniforms are made in China. Our defence force uniforms are made in China. And we've really had a bit of a wake-up call regarding deteriorating economic relations between the countries, and we need to get in control of our supply chains.
Oh, I've been watching the information on the bridge, the big dam in China that is breaking or getting ready to break or flooding. I don't know if you've seen anything on that and what it would do to supply chains and our economy because of it. Anyways, I'll share some information about it, see if I can find the article and share it. But here's a really good question from Seth. How feasible is it for hemp to replace traditional lumber, and what would the timeline look like for that to happen?
Well, hemp, as you know, grows in 4 months, and it's very easy to replace lumber, which traditionally takes 20 years to grow. So it's very easy to replace, but you have to have a hemp fiber processing facility, which is what we're making now. I think it's extremely sad, and everyone, I think, has similar feelings that we're cutting down 27,000 trees a day for paper, which can easily be grown with hemp in 4 months.
Yeah.
So Seth, we're right there, and it is very easy to replace.
So we had Mandy, if you go up, Steve had a question up a little higher.
Mm-hmm.
He says, how can Australia help pave the way for the U.S. regarding fiber? What are Australia farms doing that the U.S. farms are not? Do you have any information to answer this question?
Yes, sure, Steve. Australia can help the US by by creating specialty relationships, by getting on podcasts, just like we're doing now, establishing relationships. There's a lot of people with similar passion and for hemp and concern for the environment. So we can help the US by getting a facility up and running and showing our US friends that it's economically feasible. And once that first facility is up and running in Australia, and we can prove that it's attractive for the farmers and for investors, then I believe it will expand exponentially, because there's investment companies in Australia who are very interested in renewable energies, and we have similar interests, and the idea is prove it's economically viable and more will come to the party.
Can I ask about the different types of fiber? So if you have a fiber processing or a hemp processing plant, there's four different types of main fiber, right? Or 4 different types of fiber that's processed. What are those? And then can you kind of talk about, for those that don't know, what are those used for, or how are they then distributed as far as types of fiber? Uh-oh, did I lose you?
Oh no, sorry, I just moved on to a different page. Here we go.
There you go.
I see that I can't move off the video. So there's basically the fiber will be graded on 5 different characteristics, and when the facility will go out to the farmer's property, just like any other, like to pick up other produce like corn or cotton. So we will go out to the farmer's property where it will be prepared in bales, and we'll take it back to the facility where it will be graded on 5 different characteristics, lignin and cellulose, and there'll be 5 different types of hemp fiber produced, right down to the finest fiber for the 3D printing industry.
Are there certain strains that are better for fiber than others that you know of?
Yeah, we'll be aiming to grow like traditional hemp fiber, like the where it's grown extremely close together, and it's taller than the average man, and it grows for 4 months. And we will be using specialist seeds for industrial hemp fiber. So very much like traditional hemp fiber growing, where it's grown extremely close together, and will be processed in Japan, for example. When I worked on farms, they actually harvest the hemp for fiber by hand. So they grab about 5 of the stalks and pull them out by hand. So we'll be actually even looking at doing it as traditional as that.
Interesting. That's fascinating. Seth had another question. Can a hemp farm be profitable in the first harvest?
Definitely. In Canada, they paid farmers $1,912 profit per acre. So the farmer's responsibility is not to sell the hemp, is not to create these contracts with the end users. That will be our job. The farmer's job will be to grow the hemp, to grow the strains that we would like, and then to get paid quickly, and then we get off their property.
Then you take the product, you process it into whatever product and finished product you're making or finishing, correct?
Correct. So we will work with our end user. We're going to employ enthusiastic engineers who will be able to talk the language with the engineers at the companies who are considering using biodegradable hemp to select the type of hemp fiber that they require and that will satisfy their demands.
Can you talk to me about who some of those immediate targets will be, or maybe even not directly the direct company, but maybe the industry vertical? You and I touched a little bit, and I've posted something about this on LinkedIn, the Lotus that is out, that's a hemp Lotus vehicle. And I know that other companies like BMW and Mercedes are using hemp in some of their products. What are some of those others that are immediately interested, or or on board, but maybe have a supply chain or a need that isn't being met? What does that look like?
Yeah, all the plastic bottling companies are right in the middle of my radar. So we have all the large bottling companies like you do that are producing thousands of tons of plastic waste that are all interested through, as I mentioned, through our connections. They're all, over the last 3 years, the market research has been done. They're all interested. We just didn't have the facility or the ability to offer these companies the hemp. The research was just to see if they're interested, and then to explain the economic potential benefits to these companies. So I would do pretty much the same approach as what I did to achieve this $50 million funding for the first facility. Is a lot of cold calling, a lot of meetings, and I really look forward to that.
With your cold calling, did you go after any environmentalist groups to help get funding from them? I would think this would be something they would be very passionate about, helping get going to replace plastics and petroleum-based products.
Ryan, I didn't contact one environmentalist group.
Interesting.
I went straight for the money managers. In my head, I was looking for my champion.
Yeah.
There's only one thing going through my head. I'm looking for my champion, and it's a little bit like when you go panning for gold. Not every time you're going to pick up a gold nugget, and I went into it with that mental attitude, and I really found a lot of receptive people, very interested people with a lot of questions, and I've jotted all their contact information, when I've contacted them, who I spoke to, and we'll be following up with all of them.
Yeah. Once you do hit the pavement, what are some of the challenges that you foresee coming across as far as people adopting the hemp fiber, for instance, to replace plastic bottles? What do you think are the challenges there? What do you think the potential opposition to that will be?
There's going to be naysayers in anything you do, and so you have to have that kind of mental resilience. There's the interest that I have so far. I've actually met very few naysayers. I have a lot of people who I've connected with who are extremely concerned about plastics, but and interested in hemp, but not knowing that there's a solution, a viable solution just around the corner. So I haven't had any resistance from anyone I've spoken to, but when I start telling people the fundamentals behind the facility, that it's been operational in Canada, it's paid for itself in a year, it employs 77 people, and we're going to drastically reduce Australia's plastic outputs. There's nothing but a lot of encouragement from the companies and the people that I've spoken to in Australia. Newspapers, yeah. Everyone's on board, wishing me luck, telling me to keep my chin up and go for it, young man.
Yeah, I would suspect that probably some of the biggest opposition is just volume, right? Is there enough volume created for like plastic bottles, for example? Is there enough volume created to be able to replace what their needs are now? You know, if you look, I think it's something like 1.5 million bottles a day are used, and so how do you replace that volume? How many facilities and how many processing centers would you need to create the equivalent of that every day? I mean, that's a large number, right? And so obviously you're not going to be able to get them all, but would you know about what the production level could be and what that might look like?
Yeah, so the facility does 5,500 acres or 55,000 tons of hemp. That is a lot of hemp, and the facility might only be able to help one major company, and that will be very much the attitude that I will go into the project with. I can't help 100 different companies straight away, but what I can do is I can help one company, one major plastic producer that's on my mind. And just around the corner in North Sydney, they've got their head Australian office, and I'm really looking forward to speaking with those guys and showing them how I'm going to save their company 1/10 and produce an option that will cost them 1/10 of their plastic current costs.
I want to highlight that because I think you said it really well. Is companies, as I go out and talk to people and people say, well, you know, why should you talk to, or why are you going after, say, a plastic bottle manufacturer or a Ford or a Chevy or a Lotus or Mercedes? Because, and my response is always, if they're not considering or already working on hemp, they're behind the game. And it really is a matter of, this is going to save your business and make it profitable and succeed, or you're not going to make it. Because as soon as, and reminding everybody that's listening, hemp is not new. This technology is not new for say, right? Like you said, plastics have only been around for 70 years. Convenient that that's the same time that hemp is no longer accessible to people, right? To be used for these things. And so now we're bringing it back, and it really is, it's not a matter of, hey, I've got this new opportunity for you. It's, we have this opportunity and it's going to save your business, or we'll move on to the next person and the next person is going to do it. And I think that's what I've found more than anything is probably the same response you've gotten when I start talking about hemp and sharing my passion and some facts about the pesticides and the carbon footprint and the water consumption. You know, Utah alone, when we're shipping our alfalfa to South Korea, we're shipping all of our water across the country or to another country for them to then use. We plant alfalfa and it's between 1/20th and 1/17th of the water, let alone the pesticides. And so I think it's a matter of, it's time to jump on board as a business and as a economy and a country and a world and say, hey, we need to save this for ourselves and our children. And if we want our businesses to be successful, you have to be thinking about hemp. But I'm going to put it out there. And if you're not, you're behind the game. And if you're not thinking about how to use it currently, how to integrate your business into it. And that's on every vertical: healthcare, plastics, cars, buildings, land, soil, every single thing in our world, hemp affects.
Yeah. You raised an important point, Ryan, when you mentioned what kind of companies are you going to target. So with the facility, I'm going to be targeting one company at a time, so that each company I can present to them that we've got a 3 or 6 month supply chain available for them, and that way not spread myself too thin where I can satisfy one company and deal with one company and make it economically attractive for that one company, and make sure that they're comfortable that they have a supply chain and that we can continue to supply them.
Well, and I think
and if they're not interested, that's fine. I'll go to the next company and I'll say, I've got a 6 month supply chain for you. Are you interested?
And I know that the majority of the companies that are producing large volumes like Levi or Patagonia, that is their biggest problem, is that supply chain. And I know that, we've spoken a lot over the last few months on our live hour is, before any of these big companies do come on and we see it in the mainstream of what we're consuming and using, there has to be a sustainable supply. And there's been a lot of that talk of egg before chicken and chicken before egg. And I have to applaud you because I've said it's going to take somebody coming in and building a facility, growers, and the product will come, right? The facts are undeniable about the benefit and the ease that comes with it. However, it's that if they know now that they have an outlet to sell their fiber to, they will come, right? And now you being able to manufacture that fiber, I'm pretty impressed.
It's exactly what you mentioned, Mandy. These large companies require stability. The more important than price is stability, that their production is not going to be shut down by an unexpected event, because that's disastrous for them. That's even more important than price in the discussions that I've had so far with potential customers. So it's being able to reassure these companies that we have a supply chain. We've got 6 months supply for you, and every 13 weeks the fiber is harvested. So every 13 weeks we have a new supply chain, and making that large company comfortable. And once that large company is comfortable and we have that supply chain, then I want another company.
Absolutely. Well, great business, because and I really do see that this is it's almost like light at the end of the tunnel on how do we move this industry forward. And I'd love to continue to support you and be the almost follow in your footsteps, right? I'm interested in what else is here in the United States and how do we grow this. I envision us being able to, under AHA, our Association of Hemp Associations, being able to supply or have a nonprofit or a co-op that has a facility like this that we can then, support our farmers, because Utah itself is not going to produce the masses like the Midwest will when it comes to fiber growth. But definitely would be fabulous to be able to put something local and see all of our local and small businesses or rural communities benefit from a facility like this, knowing that not every farmer can put a facility in.
Yeah, and Australia is not going to solve this plastics and carbon problem by ourselves. My approach is that there's very interested people in America and Canada and around the world, and it's time for us to share our knowledge and our interests and promote this industry. And it really requires entrepreneurs to lead this charge and to lead it with passion and determination to create these relationships with people from other countries and to really promote this industry, which we are very lucky that at this time we have platforms like LinkedIn where like-minded professionals can get together, create these relationships. And a lot of my relationships were created through that platform, and I feel very appreciative because it wasn't around 20 years ago. Now is the time for hemp. Now is the time for us to move forward, and forward together is my philosophy.
You're speaking my language, because that's exactly why we created CBD Collective and the Association of Hemp Associations. Is when we're moving an industry along, we are stronger together, and we have to be able to come together and support each other, and we have to, have a way at which we conduct business that shows everybody else that's not in the business that it's a legitimate business and that this is a benefit, and taking away the reefer madness and this fear that it's not because it's been illegal or inaccessible has to happen when we combine forces and join together. And or I believe that we'll do it quicker and faster. And so it's been
my response when people mention something like reefer madness is I just laugh at them. No words. I just laugh at them.
You get it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I'm not here to convince people otherwise. I'm looking for my champion, and there's lots of them in Australia, and I really feel that it's the awareness of hemp is growing. Literally month by month and year by year, and people are really understanding that it's extremely important for the environment. We can, like you mentioned before, Mandy, large companies are now making cars and parts of cars out of hemp. The first car was made out of hemp. It ran on hemp fuel. Hemp fuel can go directly into a diesel engine.
Interesting. I know that.
Directly into a diesel engine. So we have solutions here, but we need to grow more hemp. So the solutions are here. We need people to grow hemp. We need a hemp fiber processing facility. We've had a hemp industry in Australia for 15 years that's gone nowhere. Mm-hmm. That's mainly it's a combination of factors because of strict government regulations. Plus, what was missing was large capital investment. People from the finance industry who are interested in hemp. I'm from the finance industry. I'm what the country needed to bridge that gap. I'm bridging that gap. I can talk finance with finance professionals because I was in the industry for 10 years and I've worked in the hemp industry for 7 years. So I have that contacts. The finances are generally unwilling to deal directly with farmers. They find them too erratic. What they need is another finance professional who understands the responsibilities of money.
Well, I think that you said it well, and it really is that bridge of the gap and being able to have that conversation. I get excited every time you talk or every time something new comes up, because everything you're saying is what Ryan and I have been preaching for months about what needs to happen. And I'm excited to see somebody moving it forward. I've got to run here pretty soon as I've got a call with somebody else to discuss this, but I want to make some connections for you, and I'd love to have you involved at our other meetings on the 18th. I will add the link here, but I'll also send it over to you. So anybody else that's watching, feel free to jump on and just kind of learn what we're doing and how we collectively are trying to move the industry forward. And it's connecting with people like you, Langdon, and you know, I just went back to look to see that I utilize LinkedIn to connect with you. I see huge value in the platform of LinkedIn over Facebook and Instagram or any of these others, because it is a B2B platform. And it's a platform where more often than not, I can search to find out if somebody's in the industry. So for if anybody else is looking for connections, you said it right, utilize LinkedIn. It's been a dominant platform for me in business, but use it as a way to build relationships, not as a pitch, right? This isn't a, hi, I'm looking for money, reach out to me. It's really a way to build relationships and learn what people are doing and how you can serve them. Yeah. But go ahead.
Yeah, definitely. Like a platform like LinkedIn, you don't look at it as a way to try and raise money, to try and sell things. I see it as an educational platform and a platform to create relationships where you can connect to like-minded business professionals. It's gives us the opportunity to share information, to create relationships, and I'm very appreciative of that platform to be able to meet like-minded people like yourself, Maggie and Ryan.
Is there anything we can do for you?
Definitely. Keep in touch. Anyone who wants to know about what's happening in the Australian hemp industry, hit me up on LinkedIn, Langdon Brown. I post sometimes up to 10 times a day, and it's all about creating awareness and educating people regarding the benefits of hemp, and letting people know that finally a solution is here, not to worry and despair regarding what is happening with the environment, just to be aware of it, but to know that there's very enthusiastic people around the world that are collaborating and working together to improve this problem.
Okay, so I shared your link right here to LinkedIn. Anybody that's watching or watches later, I shared it a couple of times. If you need anything else, please don't hesitate to reach out, or if there's anything we can do from our side to your side to help. And then again, however, I'd love to, further discussion and make intros so that we can move the industry along and at the same time, instead of waiting for one to beat us. No offense, but I get a little competitive like that. So I'd rather all rise at the same time.
Yeah, I really hope it's very important for me to keep in contact with people around the world, to be involved in this podcast. I really appreciate the invitation to share what we're doing in Australia, and to let people know that it's going to be okay, and not for children. Like, I've got 2 young daughters who are writing projects regarding the environment. We've got a whole generation of people coming up who are extremely interested in helping the world, and let everyone know that it will be okay, because there's a lot of determined people who are working towards the same common goal.
For sure.
Well, we've said before, this is a perfect opportunity to put this in the hands of our kids, right? They're smart. They're very, very cautious and aware of our environment, and they are also very tech savvy. And so, programs like STEM and our colleges or even our high schools, our ag departments, giving them an opportunity to actually research and understand the value of hemp. I really think they will bring so much knowledge and so many resources once they can really get their hands on it.
Definitely, and it's up to us. It's our generation. In the last 3 generations, we've done a lot of damage to the earth, and we can't. There's no point us blaming people in the past. It's up to us to do something about it, and to have that go-getter sort of positive attitude, and to really take this challenge forward, and to do it with much pride and determination.
Well, I commit to walk right alongside you in doing that, and staying positive, and when there's hiccups or any resistance, to keeping your head up. But anytime you need any reminder about passion, feel free to log on and give us a call, because I am not shy of the passion about this industry and what we're doing for our earth and our kids. And so thank you very much for doing it, and I'll walk right alongside you to move it forward.
Thank you so much, my friends in America, and thank you very much for this opportunity to be on Utah CBD Collective, and to create new friendships and relationships. And this is like a very heartwarming experience, because I feel support from America for what we're doing down here in Australia.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Even if we talk about our supply chains within the United States and us being able to be sustainable, that goes for everybody. Everybody has to be able to create sustainability, so that when pandemics or war or anything happens, our people are still okay, right? It's not a one against the other. This is really, all of us need to be able to create and fix these supply chains, and identifying that there wasn't anybody to lead that in our industry is why we're here. And so thank you very much for joining, walking right alongside, and good job for your work, and goodbye, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow
Morning. Thank you
again.
Thank
you very much, Langdon. We'll see you later.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for including me, and I've really enjoyed this experience, and I'm here anytime, and look forward to keeping in touch.
For sure. We'll hope to see you on the 18th.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Sounds good. Later. Thank you. Bye.
Hi. Well, thank you. Thanks, everybody. I guess I'm the only one on, and goodbye. We'll see you next time. See you tomorrow.